What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Thomas, and you're tuning into the Thomas Take Sports Podcast live on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Another episode that I know Buffalo Bills fans have been waiting for. Throughout this whole draft process, I've kept you guys as up to date as I could possibly keep you guys up to date. I mean, I really did my due diligence as far as this draft, as far as the players in this draft, as far as the quarterbacks, as far as everything up until this draft process. Not only that, I was on several shows leading up to the draft week, or leading up to the draft during draft week, I should say, and they were great experiences for me. My Fantasy Sports Talk obviously has been great. The My Fantasy Podcast, both Brandon Reed and Dan Chalk, I got to throw out a big thank you to them for having me on their shows. For the last 2 years. I also have to throw out a huge thank you to CJ DeSimone from the Jets Factor podcast. I was on as a representative of the Buffalo Bills, making a case days leading up to the draft as to why the Buffalo Bills had Josh Allen rated so high on their board. I have a lot of great people surrounding me, a lot of intelligent people with people that are in the know when it comes to the Buffalo Bills and what they do day in and day out, what they're looking to do. Nothing that was leaked, but definitely talks that Josh Allen was a lot higher on their board than what most people thought, than what most fans thought. And I really said that. I really preached that message quite often leading up to the draft. Even moments before the draft, hours before the draft, I had Samuel White on the podcast, a good buddy of mine, and we were talking back and forth about Josh Allen and the tweets that came out and why it won't matter to a team that's interested enough in him to take him. And we went through. I just really wanted to give you guys the best coverage that I could possibly give you on this draft as a whole and on the Buffalo Bills. I really hope I delivered. I really hope I did that. I really hope I entertained the Bills fans out there. So far, so good. Nobody's had any complaints. So here I am back on the podcast, coming to you live on YouTube, and I gotta break down this Buffalo Bills draft. So if you see me look down, I'm not going to click out of this window where I'm broadcasting live. I am going to be on my phone looking up some certain things that I've found, in regards to the Buffalo Bills draft picks and things like that, in recent memory. Let's see here. Let's just go through from top to bottom. Let's just go through. I have it here on my phone. The entire Buffalo Bills draft class, just from top to bottom, and really dive into it. This show, I intend it to be a little bit longer than usual. Usually I like to be on for about a half hour. I don't like to time myself. I really feel like I'll give my take, and when it's poked or beaten to death like a dead horse, I will continue to stop. So 7th overall, the Buffalo Bills drafted Josh Allen, but that was not the Buffalo Bills' original draft choice. Neither was the 12th overall pick. Originally, heading into this draft, Buffalo had the 21st and the 22nd overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, and I really liked the idea of them having two first-round draft picks in a row. I thought it couldn't get much better than that, and it actually did. Being that Buffalo was able to move up from 21 to 12, I thought that would allow them to possibly trade up again. And the big talk heading into this draft was whether I thought they should trade up or whether they shouldn't. My argument as to why I felt they should not trade up dealt with one fact and one fact only. Most Bills fans wanted the Bills to move up into the top 5. A trade that would require the Buffalo Bills to trade their first-round draft choice in next year's draft and their second first-round draft choice in this year's draft, possibly. I did not want that. The Giants were not willing to trade the second overall pick. They were in a great position as a franchise, a team that finished 3-13. It's not as bad as their record showed last year. They were able to get a premium player and dictate their price, demand their price, and they did that on draft day. They drafted Saquon Barkley, and when Saquon Barkley became available to them, they said that's all we need. We're taking him. We're not trading that pick. Rumors began to swirl around afterwards during the draft. While I'm watching the draft, the Buffalo's trying to trade up to fifth overall with Denver. Well, when Bradley Chubb became available to Denver, Buffalo was not going to do that. Or the Denver, I should say, was not going to trade that fifth overall pick. The best case scenario, and I say this all the time, the best case scenario for a trade up situation, if you're a team looking to get a quarterback, is that if you're going to trade up, make sure that you're not giving up a first round pick in this year's draft. Make sure that you're not giving up a first in next year's draft. And the best case scenario actually happened for the Buffalo Bills. They were able to trade up from 12 to 7 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and not have to trade a first round draft choice. They traded both second round picks in this year's draft to move up and take the quarterback that they had always wanted in Josh Allen. Let me repeat that. They traded up, giving up 2 second round picks to trade up for the quarterback that they always wanted. Now, I know throughout the process that they visited with USC and they visited with UCLA, scouted both of those universities just as much as any universities in the country. I know that was something that was told to me during the season. Wyoming and Buffalo was a situation that actually came to light recently. This whole situation, as far as whether Buffalo would draft Josh Allen, they always wanted a quarterback that could be that gunslinger, that was big, that could throw in the inclement weather. I personally thought the 3 best quarterbacks in their mind were Darnold, Allen, and Rosen. And when Darnold was picked third, Allen was the next man up. Rosen was not in their crosshairs. And I think he kind of demeaned his value throughout this process, throughout the draft process. I'll get to that a little bit later. But Buffalo drafting Josh Allen, I'm sitting here at my house. I'm watching the draft. I'm seeing Buffalo make this move. I come back into this room where I do the podcast. I'm hopping on the My Fantasy podcast with Brandon Reed and Dan Schalk just to do like a little overview of how my draft day was going. I said to my buddy Eric, who watches this show, one of my biggest, supporters, I watched the draft with him. And we see this trade up. And I hop back on the My Fantasy podcast and I said this: do not be shocked if this is for Josh Allen, because I won't be shocked. And lo and behold, I turned my camera, turned my mic off, go into the other room. With the 7th overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills selected Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming. I'm not shocked. I'm here to tell you that I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. To quote Nate Diaz, I'm not surprised. But I'm really not, because, as I said, throughout this process, they were looking for somebody that was big, was agile, was mobile, could extend plays, and could play in inclement weather. And I know that that's such a weird underlying fact that they scouted that way, but they should scout that way. In case you haven't noticed, the winters in Buffalo have been very bad these last few years. 2014, they had to play in a different stadium. One game against the Jets in Detroit, they had to play in a different stadium. This past year, they played against Indianapolis at New Era Field in a game that probably should have been played at another field. 10 inches of snow on the ground. Realistically, we can say whatever we want as to why we think they drafted Josh Allen and passed on Josh Rosen. My opinion on that is this: I think Josh Allen was a guy that they really saw that he fit this city, he fit this culture, he fit what they are trying to build here in Western New York. And all the quarterbacks that were drafted, Baker Mayfield goes first overall to Cleveland. Sam Darnold goes third overall to the Jets. Josh Allen goes 7th overall to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Rosen goes 10th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. Um, and 32nd overall, Lamar Jackson to the Ravens. Each and every one of those quarterbacks, in my personal humble opinion, based on player to team, as far as the fit, it was the perfect fit for those players on those teams. Baker Mayfield is a little bit of a wild card. He's got a wild streak to him. Cleveland likes that. They need a guy with a little bit of an edge, and that's why they drafted him first overall. For the life of me, I don't understand it in terms of what you had in comparison to him to draft. I don't think he's worth a first overall pick, but they wanted a quarterback with a little bit of an edge to him. Enter Baker Mayfield. The Jets wanted a prototypical pocket passer quarterback that can extend plays and that speaks for himself very well, carries a good head on his shoulders, and that's what they're getting with Sam Darnold. Buffalo Bills wanted a gunslinger, 6'4", 6'5", 240-pound guy that has all the physical talent in the world. Josh Rosen and the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals wanted a guy that was the drop back, find the open guy and get it out of his hand type quarterback. And that's Josh Rosen. So I think all of these fits are good fits for these quarterbacks. They all make sense in terms of why these teams drafted them the way they did. Josh Rosen, I think, definitely would not have fit in as well in Buffalo as he will in Arizona. Josh Allen, I think, will fit in Buffalo better than any other place. Sam Darnold will fit in with the New York Jets better than any other place. I think all of these quarterbacks will have their own spurts of success, including Baker Mayfield, believe it or not. I think Lamar Jackson is going to be taking Joe Flacco's job in a year or two, which is a big statement by me to say that. Because Joe Flacco, I know he's had some down years, but he was a Super Bowl MVP. Or was he Super Bowl champion? So a lot to take in there. And really, I'm trying my best to avoid the stupid pop-up that keeps coming up. But Josh Allen going to Buffalo, there's a large contingency of fans that hate this pick. They don't just hate it, they loathe it and they detest it. Specifically, I'm not going to name names. I posted that I was going to name names. I'm not going to do that. I was just joshing, pun intended. But I will say that I was a little bit disappointed in the Bills Mafia fan base. I really was. I was a little bit disappointed because the fans, not I, but you, the fans, asked for this. You asked for the Buffalo Bills to take a quarterback in a trade up. They make a trade. You know it's for a quarterback. You know it's coming. And you don't like the guy they picked. That's on you. That's not on them. They have scouts. They have a personnel department. They have every resource in their organization to go out and seek out what they are looking for and see who's got it. And if they think Josh Allen's got it, then I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna say, hey, they wanted him for a lot of different reasons. They think that he's a better fit. They don't think his tweets from 10 years ago have anything to do with his mental psyche now. And they investigated that. They talked to him. They called him, and he was very, very upfront about it, saying that is not him. That is not him as a person. Those were dumb tweets he made when he was a teenage kid. And I've always been a pretty decent guy. I was a pretty decent kid. I never got into much trouble. Got into fights and stuff in school, but never did anything like that. Never ruffled any feathers in that way. Had a lot of friends from all different backgrounds. And even me, I could say there was some stupid stuff that I did as a kid that I look back on and I say, why the hell did I do that? That was so stupid. And that's one of those instances. I don't think Josh Allen's racist. I don't think he's a bigot. I don't think he's an idiot like some of the Bills fans have said based on his tweets when he was 14, 15 years old. I'm not really going to go into that. I really, to be quite frank, I don't care about that. I am a podcast host, a sports podcast host. I'm looking at things based on sports. How will Josh Allen make the Buffalo Bills better? How will Josh Allen improve while with the Buffalo Bills? And I said specifically that this situation in Buffalo for Josh Allen, this was before Buffalo drafted him, but I made a huge case that Buffalo would be a perfect fit for Josh Allen based on the reasons that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott said that as to reasons why they took him. He's a big guy. He can throw unlike anyone I've ever seen in the draft in my lifetime. I've never seen a quarterback with the arm that he has. It wowed me when I watched all the quarterbacks and I stumbled upon Josh Allen and I saw his tape. I thought, wow, this guy can really throw. And I made a few posts about his accuracy issues. That's always the topic of discussion when they talk about Josh Allen. They say that his accuracy is poor, that he had a 56% completion percentage in college. So let's go back to this post. Josh Allen had a 56% completion percentage. He threw for 5,066 yards during his time at Wyoming. He threw for 44 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. Quarterback B had a 55% completion percentage, had 5,228 yards, so he's got him in passing yards. He had 33 touchdowns and 28 interceptions. Josh Allen versus quarterback B. Allen had 44 touchdowns. Quarterback B had 33. Allen had only 21 picks. Quarterback B had 28. And quarterback B beat him in yards. Other than that, Allen had better completion percentage, more touchdowns, and less interceptions. Quarterback B was Buffalo Bills Hall of Famer Jim Kelly. So if you are going to criticize Josh Allen and say that everything about him is terrible just because his completion percentage is 56%, know the facts. Know that one or two completions per game would drastically change that completion percentage. It's common sense math, common sense statistics. And I was a terrible math student in high school, awful. But I know statistics. I know numbers in sport, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, whatever it may be. I understand that side of math. That's actually what helped me get through math in school, was basing it around sports. So another guy at Southern Mississippi threw a 52% completion percentage rate. Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to live, to walk the earth. And we're going to say that Josh Allen's completion percentage is 56%. He sucks. He didn't have a good year last year. I said this in the lead up to the draft, and I'll say it again. Anybody that plays at Wyoming University and puts himself in the discussion as a first round pick, let alone a top 10 pick, you know that there is something there. And there is a lot there. Now, I want to talk about the situation as far as what to do now that he's on the team. Now that he's on the team, and we have A.J. McCarron, who I believe Buffalo was very comfortable putting A.J. McCarron in as the quarterback one and allowing Josh Allen the ample amount of time that he needs to learn the offense, to learn how to create better throws with better footwork, and to really craft his game at the NFL level. And I'm okay with that because A.J. McCarron, I think, over anybody in this draft, over any starting option that they could have had this season in free agency, A.J. McCarron has the biggest chip on his shoulder, I think, out of any quarterback in the National Football League. And I think it's due to the fact, obviously, that he was the backup at Cincinnati when there were moments that he probably shouldn't have been. Andy Dalton didn't look that great, and they could have made that switch, and they wouldn't have been wrong for making it. And he comes in on this 2-year deal. It's perfect. I literally laid this out. It's perfect that A.J. McCarron is on a 2-year deal, that he can take the spot. And I even said, I did a little preview to this podcast in an audio version of it. And I talked about how Nate Peterman is still in the building, that people aren't giving Nate much of a chance. And Sam Mazda's on here. I'm still not excluding Nate either. Deserves a chance. Can't judge him on one game. I agree. I agree with that. And I think, I know personally, I was very high on Nate heading into the draft process last year, and Buffalo drafted him in the 5th round with one of the later picks in the draft. One of the later picks in the 5th round, I believe. So there's a lot there, a lot to take in. Another piece of information for you Josh Allen haters out there, which I know that there's some out there. There's no doubt about it. And for people to say, oh, I'm not a hater, I just wanted Josh Rosen. I'll get to that. Trust me. Trust me on that. I will get to that. College career, Josh Allen versus quarterback B. I'll do this again. Josh Allen versus quarterback B. Josh Allen played 27 games at Wyoming. He had a 56.2% completion percentage. He had 5,066 passing yards, 767 rushing yards, 56 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. Yeah, and that actually shows that the metric with the Jim Kelly one was wrong. This was on CBS Sports, so he had even more touchdowns than that. Carson Wentz had, maybe they're including rushing. Yeah, they included rushing. Total touchdowns. Okay, total touchdowns. He had 56 total touchdowns, 44 passing, 12 rushing, 21 interceptions. Quarterback B played in 43 games, a 64.1% completion percentage. So he played in more games, had a higher completion percentage, had higher passing yards, 5,115 to 5,066, had 1,028 rushing yards to Allen's 767, and had 58 total touchdowns and 14 interceptions. That quarterback that played in 43 games to Allen's 27 and had only less than 100 more passing yards, like 50 more passing yards than Allen did, had 300, almost 300 more rushing yards than he did, and had 2 more touchdowns than Allen did and 7 less interceptions. That quarterback, Carson Wentz. So there is a lot more to Josh Allen than just his arm. There is a lot more to Josh Allen than just his raw physical talent. There are literal player comparisons out there that show that Josh Allen in the 27 games that he played at Wyoming put up monster numbers. And I know that the conference isn't the SEC. It's not the biggest, level of competition, whatever you want to call it. But that's as prime an example as you're ever going to find in this day and age in football with Carson Wentz, being that he played at South Dakota State University. North Dakota State University. Played at North Dakota State University. They didn't play the best competition. They're not even a D1 school. They're like a D11A whatever school. Josh Allen played Division I football. So I think that Josh Allen is going to be very, very intriguing. And personally, as a podcast host, as a Buffalo Bills fan, I cannot wait for the moment that I head down to St. John Fisher in July and August to watch Josh Allen practice, to watch Josh Allen's physical talent right before my very eyes. It's going to be very, very intriguing, very, very fun. And this time with Josh Allen, He will not be thrown to the wolves. And what I mean by that is A.J. McCarron is in the building. Nate Peterman is in the building. They do not have to rush Josh Allen into playing like they did with J.P. Lossman, and it ultimately failed and ruined his career. Like it did with E.J. Manuel, ultimately probably ended his chances at ever being a starting quarterback in the National Football League ever again. They can literally let Josh Allen take all the time he needs. He's on a 5-year deal on the cheap due to the CBA, regardless as to whether he was the 7th overall pick or not. He's on a very cheap deal, and Buffalo can afford the opportunity for him to learn and to get better. And the sky's the limit with this kid. It really is. I mean, it's not just potential. It's proven over the 27 games that he played at Wyoming that he's more than just a project. I think he has a lot of ground to build off of, and it takes the right coaches to increase that and to make him better. Brian Daboll, I'm excited that they got as the offensive coordinator. He's a champion coach on multiple platforms, whether it's the NCAA with Bama or Super Bowl champ with the New England Patriots. I really like a lot of the additions that have been made to the offense. Russell Bodine, Marshall Newhouse, 2 offensive linemen that I really like. In terms of they have a lot to prove as well. There's like a running theme with this Bills team, and if no one's noticed it yet, they should. They're getting guys with massive, massive chips on their shoulder, or plenty of players with a chip on their shoulder. When I said chips, it sounded like potato chips. I didn't mean that part. But anyway, I really can buy into this as a fan. I can buy into this as a sports writer, and I say this all the time. I'm a massive Buffalo Bills fan. Do I support every single thing that they do? No, I don't. There are other times where I'm willing to call them out and say, "Hey, you guys bleeped up. You guys messed up." I do it all the time. I did it throughout the season with the Bills. I'll make no bones about it. If I think they made a stupid move, I will say they made a stupid move. If anybody's watched this podcast, they know that I get angry sometimes when I talk about this stuff, because it is frustrating to a degree. What was more frustrating than anything was seeing the amount of fans, loyal fans of the Buffalo Bills, that reacted the way they did because they didn't take the piss pot that is Josh Rosen, and that's what I'm going to call him from here on out. When this process, I should restate that. What makes this process so special as a fan, as a sports podcast host, whatever you want to call me, for me, I enjoy this process more than any other in the NFL because you get to see how these guys react. You actually get to learn how their personalities are shown in this process. You get to see who they really are in moments throughout the draft. Are they sweating when they're waiting on the clock? How do they react when they get picked? Or when they're still on the board, I should say. Are they sweating? And Josh Rosen, it goes Mayfield first, Darnold first, Allen 7th, Mayfield first, Darnold 3rd, Allen 7th, and Josh Rosen 10th. And personally, for my taste, I did not appreciate at all the way Josh Rosen reacted to being picked by Arizona. As a fan, if I'm an Arizona fan, he definitely would have rubbed me the wrong way. But thank God for him. He should be thankful, should be counting his lucky stars that he got drafted by a team that has a media market with no pulse whatsoever. When is the last time you saw a headline in a newspaper about the Arizona Cardinals? When is the last time you saw a mainstream article on anything that the Arizona Cardinals have done since Kurt Warner retired, and something that doesn't have to do with Larry Fitzgerald or David Johnson? Other than that, they're a blimp on the radar of the National Football League. Nobody talks about the Arizona Cardinals. They're just there. And Josh Rosen gets to go to that team Had he gone to a team with a high-profile market like the Jets, he would have been fried, sautéed, whatever you want to call it, grilled, burned. That would not have lasted whatsoever in that situation. He should be pointing up to the heavens, saying, "Thank you, God, that I got drafted by a team where I can act like a bit of a douchebag and the fans won't care." Frankly, I would if Buffalo drafted him and he said, well, they say, hey, Josh, how do you feel about getting drafted? Well, 6 teams made a mistake. You want to be the first overall pick to the Browns that badly? Come on, you're not fooling anybody. Well, 9 other teams made a mistake. Do you think you're Tom Brady? Do you think you're Aaron Rodgers? Tom Brady had to wait 5 rounds. He started at Michigan. He won the Orange Bowl, was the MVP of the Orange Bowl. Josh Rosen never did that. Josh Rosen never even beat Sam Darnold in college. Am I wrong? No. So why would Josh Rosen react that way rather than put on the dirty bird hat, whatever the hell those dumb hats say, with the cardinal on it, and keep your mouth shut and say, "Thank you, Arizona. Thank you for taking me 10th overall. I was the 10th picked player in a draft with over 250 picks. And I'm pissed about it." I'm not buying it. I'm not buying this whole, well, I'm Josh Rosen, and I'm here to prove everybody wrong. Josh Allen says, I'm Josh Allen. I'm here to prove myself right. Which mentality would you rather have? Would you rather have a guy that says, I'm here to prove everybody else wrong? Would you rather have a guy that says, I'm here to prove myself right? I believe in myself. I believe that I have the skill sets in myself to be better than anyone else could ever imagine. So I'm going to prove it to myself, not to you, that I am the real deal. I like that. I like that a lot in Josh Allen in comparison to Josh Rosen. 2 completely different mental mindsets. I don't think Josh Rosen's a bad quarterback. I think he's going to be decent. But I do not like his body language, bravado, whatever you want to call it, that makes him believe as if everybody is against him. No, man, no one hates you. Just relax. Relax, dude. You're going to sit behind Sam Bradford for probably an hour. Sam will probably slip on a banana peel, and you'll play in no time. Just keep your mouth shut and just be quiet. Enough. He did that his entire time in college to the point where his college head coach was asked on national TV, who would you rather take if you're the Cleveland Browns first overall, Darnold or Rosen? He said Sam Darnold. And he wonders why he fell? And then he acts like that again? He almost doubles down as to why he did fall. It's like, hey, you're wondering why you fell? Take a look in the mirror. Actions speak louder than words, buddy. And body language is everything on draft day. When you're in that green room, you got millions and millions of people watching you, and you act like you're not grateful, you're going to get roasted by people like me, by people in other markets that are wondering why he didn't get picked higher. Right there. He proved it. That's it. There's no other answer to it. That's the answer. And if you're comparing, like if you're wondering why Buffalo drafted Josh Allen instead of Josh Rosen, could Josh Allen throw in the conditions that we have? Could Josh Allen take the hits? Or could Josh Rosen throw like Josh Allen can? No. Can Josh Rosen take the hits with his 2 concussions and throwing shoulder injury? There's a lot of questions there that Arizona is willing to take that chance. They can take that chance because they do play in a dome. They do have pieces. They have a terrible offensive line. which is something I'm going to keep my eye out on. And Buffalo can sit Allen, let him learn, and create him, make him a better player. It hasn't worked in previous franchise history, but previous franchise history, we didn't have Sean McDermott, we didn't have Brandon Beane as the GM and the head coach, and that goes a long way. So that's the first 35 minutes of the show where I talk about Josh Allen. Now we're moving on. We're moving on to Tremaine Edmunds, who throughout this process, guys, I just I love this player. I really do. I was so elated. Tremaine Edmunds, a guy that was my number one linebacker heading into this draft, a guy that in my mock draft I had him going sixth to the Indianapolis Colts, and I thought that would only be because Quentin Nelson would not be there, Bradley Chubb would not be there. I didn't have Baker Mayfield going first overall. Once that happened, my mock draft just went out the window. So, and that happens a lot. First overall pick team really dictates the pace of the draft. And Tremaine Edmunds fell. Minka Fitzpatrick fell, so to speak. Denzel Ward was a reach, I thought, but a reach that Cleveland thinks is worthy. And that led us to get Tremaine Edmunds, so I'm not too mad. I'm not too upset. 16th overall, Bills trade their third round pick to, I can't remember who they traded with. Who did they trade with? The Ravens? Was it the Ravens? Thought it was. Buffalo trades, they swap first, the 22nd and the 16th with the Ravens. And then Buffalo traded a third, and the Ravens traded Buffalo back a fifth. Right. So, yeah, I mean that's a decent trade. They moved down 2 rounds to move up 5 spots and get the best linebacker in the class at a massive, massive position of need. 19 years old. That's often thrown around when they talk about Tremaine Edmunds, and it should be thrown around because this guy is special. He's sideline to sideline. He can get after the quarterback. He can make things happen. And I cannot wait to see him play. I was hoping, this sounds really weird and really random, but I was hoping he would pick a number in the 50s, 52, 50, one of the 50 numbers, whatever ones were available. 49 is a weird number. I know it was his college number or high school number, but I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of a weird number for me. For them to take, for him to take that number, I don't know. I just thought it was weird. And I wanted his jersey, but now I'm probably not going to get it because 49 just looks pretty odd, especially on a Bills jersey. It just doesn't look right. So, I mean, a dude that's 240 pounds that runs a 4.5 340. Come along, come aboard. I'm good with it. So great pick. I think he's going to be here a long time. I think he's going to be embraced by Buffalo Bills fans. He's going to be one of the mainstays on the roster. I'm really excited to see how he ends up as throughout his career. We're really going to see a lot of great things from him throughout this process. So let's take a look here. Who else we got? So the next round, we didn't pick for a couple rounds. The second round went, the third round went, third round started. We had the 96th overall pick in a trade that we acquired that pick with the Eagles, and we traded Ronald Darby for Jordan Matthews, who is on the Patriots now. So with that pick, we basically traded Ronald Darby for Harrison Phillips, which I think that's a good trade. If I'm really looking at it, Harrison Phillips, horrible Harry, This guy is a beast. This guy is a monster. This guy is a freak athlete for a defensive tackle to have 100 tackles. 100 tackles for a D tackle. That is insane. It's almost sickening that these teams let Harrison Phillips become that big of a factor. They knew it was coming and they still couldn't stop it. Horrible Harry, I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I actually posted something about him a couple months ago comparing him to Kyle Williams, and I'm like, man, that would be a fantastic pick. And they get him. It's literally music to my eyes. I just really love it. Um, Teron Johnson out of Weber State, corner, was the next pick, 121st overall. And I thought I saw something about him in the scouting combine. Um, he was Sheldon's first draft pick at his university. He definitely fills a need on the Bills defense. As far as a corner, I think that they did need to go out and get another one. Um, but he does project as more of a nickel corner, 5'11", 192 pounds. Lack of size will drive him into the nickel role, where he appears to have the foot quickness and cover talent to handle the job, NFL.com wrote. Bills have a need at nickelback as Leonard Johnson remains unsigned. He's the guy who got donked at the combine, right? These are notes from the Buffalo News. Johnson gained notoriety at the NFL Combine for being part of a funny play. He was running through a pass-catching drill when he took a ball to the face, much to the dismay of those behind him on the screen. He was fine and finished the drill. Counts just the same as all other pass breakups, I suppose. He's dealt with some really trying experiences in his life. He lost his mother to breast cancer when he was 9. Really didn't understand what happened at that time. He said, I remember there was a time she was fine and she went to the hospital and I thought I'd see her, but I didn't know she was that sick. I didn't understand it. Very sad. Really shocked. I definitely miss her a lot. It was a long time ago. I try to remember her. I asked my dad and sister about her to get a better memory. I can feel her though. All-American. Unanimous FCS first team All-America selection in 2017. 3 interceptions, 49 tackles. Johnson said he had no pre-draft communication with the Bills until they called him to say they were picking him. Those stories are pretty damn cool. And they say, oh, I never even talked to this team, and they wanted me. They wanted to take me. Wyatt Teller out of Virginia Tech, another VT guy. Wyatt Teller, I see him as a future starter, to be quite honest. Rotational guard at the very least in the National Football League. And most draft experts, whatever you want to call it, think that the Buffalo Bills got a steal. He played defensive line in high school. Was a guy that NFL.com projects to be a NFL starter in the coming years. Maybe not right away, but could develop into something special. 166th overall pick. Draft projection was that he would fall into the 3rd or 4th round. Buffalo gets him in the 5th round. Strengths: build like a block of granite, written by Lance Zierlein, with a well-proportioned muscular frame, carries high percentage of lean muscle mass, is a weight room freak with over 400-pound power clean, 460-pound bench press, and a 600-pound squat. Whew! That's a strong boy. They say he didn't look as good last year as he did in 2016. Whatever. It says your message was retracted, Sam Maza. What the hell are you doing? Your message about Harrison Phillips being a steal is not on there now. It's really weird. So yeah, good pick there. They get a depth guard, Wyatt Teller, a guy that they thought would be picked in the 3rd or 4th round. Ray McLeod, a wide receiver out of Clemson. A guy that I really didn't see much of until this past year on Clemson. Um, Buffalo has taken Clemson players with Watkins and Spiller in years past. Those guys didn't really work out for them um, the way they wanted them to. But to say the least, I do think that we are at a point where Buffalo has got a lot of experimentation going on um, with their draft. Right now, I'm just looking through some of the picks here, trying to find just Buffalo's page. I can just use that as a, but well. Ray Ray McCloud definitely get an opportunity to go to a team that needs wide receiver help. I mean, they have Benjamin. One guy that everybody is forgetting about that I keep telling people about. One name, Brandon Riley. This kid is going to be really, really good. And I think he's going to get his opportunity to play. Really busted his ass in training camp. I should say busted his butt in training camp. And, made the final roster, had injuries, made it to the practice squad. And, that was that. Draft projection said free agent. They did not think he would get drafted, but he did. Despite McCloud's lack of prototypical size for the position, he has proven himself a clutch performer for the Clemson Tigers over the past 2 years. The 13-game starter was an honorable mention All-ACC as an all-purpose player in 2017, making plays as a receiver, 49 receptions, 503 yards, 1 touchdown, rusher, 6 carries for 30 yards, punt returner, 25 returns, 303 yards, 1 touchdown. McCloud played in all 14 games for the team's national championship run, starting 5 contests, caught 49 passes for 472 yards and 2 scores, as well as returning 21 punts for 176 yards. As a freshman, McCloud played in 12 games with 1 start, caught 29 throws for 251 yards and a touchdown, ran 7 times for 48 yards, averaged 31.9 yards on 7 kickoff returns. The Tampa native rushed for 4,000 yards in his final 2 years in high school, but was the second-ranked receiver prospect nationally by Rivals.com. Armstrong is a man without a position. It'll be up to an NFL team to decide where to utilize him. He lacks the physical and play traits teams look for at either wide receiver or corner, but he has some punt return potential that could help his cause. He'll need a strong combine to help his draft stock, but practice squad may have to be his goal for the season. So this is cute. This is interesting because Buffalo likes guys that they can use in a variety of ways, whether it's special teams or offense or defense. They will find a way how to use them. And I think they could find a way how to use them as a gunner or as a punt returner or as a kick returner and as a rotational fringe wide receiver, and I wish him luck in that regard. My favorite picks that they made that definitely has my attention is Austin Proehl, the son of Ricky Proehl, who long time NFL wide receiver. Let me go back to the draft here. It's so annoying. They have each round not listed the way that they should. It's I don't need a photo of the guy. I know what most of these guys look like, and really, we'll know what they look like when they're playing. There we go. Okay, Proehl, Proehl. Let's see what Zierlein had to say about this kid. And I like Lance Zierlein. He's got good write-ups. Very, very good stuff. Austin Proehl. So, wide receivers. Let's just do Austin Proehl. Back in the day on that grill. greatest show on turf. 5 things to know about Austin Prohl. So, outside of his last name, I just told you that. Um, His dad, though, Ricky Prohl, 17-year NFL veteran, played for 6 different NFL clubs, including the Panthers, where he appeared in Super Bowl XXXVII and had 4 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown and a 3-point loss to New England. Dad was a receivers coach for Carolina, but he stepped away to watch his son play football at North Carolina. Prohl knows McDermott and McBean. I always say McBean, but I meant McDermott and Bean. Prohl is familiar with Coach McDermott and GM Brandon Beane. His dad was on Ron Rivera's coaching staff with McDermott, while Beane was working the Panthers front office for 4 seasons. Missed most of his senior season. Prohl, the team's third leading receiver, as written on BuffaloNews.com, as a junior, and was leading the team in receptions as a senior when he suffered a broken collarbone in a loss at Duke in September and missed the rest of the season. Prohl, who lined up primarily outside as a receiver for the Tar Heels, is a receiver who got consistent separation due to precise route running. He does have the speed as a receiver, however, as he ran in the low 4.4s in the regional combine. Prohl has been compared to former Tar Heel teammate. Some NFL talent evaluators say he reminds him of former North Carolina wide receiver Ryan Switzer. Switzer, a 4th-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys in the 2017 NFL Draft, but he is a full 2 inches shorter than Prohl. Prohl is a little bit bigger than I thought he was. But realistically, I mean, I thought this draft was an entertaining one. I think that I think that everything about these players have Buffalo Bills written all over them. And what I mean by that is GMs, former GMs, coaches that have come and gone in Buffalo haven't built a team. And it sounds so vague, and I'm trying to paint it with a broader brush. What I mean by that is, like, the players didn't fit. They would get one guy, like a J.P. Lossman, and then they get another guy like Roscoe Parrish. And it just, the pieces did not mesh well with each other. And they were always drafting the same positions. It always seemed like they were drafting a running back. They were always drafting a wide receiver. They were always drafting an offensive lineman. They always put themselves out there to certain ideas that never worked, and they would continue to do it over and over again. This regime, I feel, has actually built up a plan. They have a plan. They have a plan that Josh Allen's going to be a guy for the future. He's the future starting quarterback. He's the franchise guy. But he has to learn, and they have players in place to help him learn and to help him grow that he can watch and learn from. Meanwhile, these players have huge chips on their shoulder, or have a huge chip on their shoulder. I did it again. But realistically, I'm excited. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds is a stud. I think he's going to be a really well-received player in this league and on this team. Harrison Phillips, I think, is a great addition to the team that I think they really need a defensive tackle in the wake of Kyle Williams' retirement, and he fills that spot. Williams has 1 year left, but you know it's good to get that out of the way, and they got it out of the way in a great way. So I'm excited. You know, if I were to read it off, you know, again the draft. Josh Allen in a trade up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buffalo moves up from 12th to 7th. Tremaine Edmonds, inside linebacker, Virginia Tech. Buffalo trades up from 22nd to 16th and takes the best linebacker in the draft, in my opinion. Harrison Phillips, selected 96th overall, defensive tackle out of Stanford. He will fill a huge void once Kyle Williams is out the door, and obviously will definitely be awesome to see him paired alongside Kyle Williams in some defensive line rotations. Teron Johnson, a corner out of Webster State. Syrian Neal, who I actually missed. I apologize for that. Just to get the measurables, I didn't print any of this out, but I do have, you know, on them. Jacksonville State, which is a really small school, but this guy's 6'1", 205 pounds. I thought this dude was one of the more underrated players in the draft, being that he came out of a small school, did have two All Ohio Valley Conference nods. He was a linebacker as well. So flexibility there. I mean, he's not a linebacker anymore. He's 200 pounds, but they can use him in a lot of different ways. Maybe a more special teams guy as well. Um, Wyatt Teller, I think, could be a starter on that offensive line in a year or two. Ray McLeod, maybe he might have to do some heavy lifting to make the roster, as will Austin Pohl, but definitely competition breeds success. So I'm excited. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. As I wrap up in the last 5 minutes here on the show, I wanted to do a full hour long show. I'm going to be right back to talk about the Buffalo Sabres, your time, and everybody's time that continues to watch the show. I'll be right back. Take care, everybody. Let's go, Buffalo.